What's up, everybody? This is Jacob Warren asking you to like, subscribe, and share. Dave needs this.
The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
The Dave Hooker Show. A presentation of Off the Hook Sports. Objective insight, expertise, top guests. Available on YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the Off the Hook Sports app. Download now for free. Also available on offthehooksports.com.
I compute and obey.
Now to Dave Hooker.
Ready.
All right, here we go. It is a monster show as things continue to happen in college football. And you may have heard Tennessee's basketball team is pretty good. That means Ron Slay joins us on a Thursday. Josh Ward as well from WNML. I guess they're both former Vols. Josh graduated from UT and Ron Slay played for UT. So two VFLs on the program as guests today. And we're going to discuss, would you take a Jim Harbaugh-like season, or would you rather take a decade of Josh Heupel and take your chances with Harbaugh? You get that championship he just won. Also, Tennessee is raking in the cash, and I'm not surprised. It is a huge deal, the amount of money that they are bringing in, and it can only help facilities, and it means more money is also coming in NIL because those go hand in hand. Some competition between the two, but if one's going up, I can guarantee you the other is going up. So Josh Ward, as I mentioned, will join us. We're going to discuss Tennessee's offense, why they have to be better in 2024 and how they can do so. And John Campbell, Cat, seen working out at right tackle. He played left tackle last year. Now that would lead me to, is Tennessee going to flip their tackles like they've done the two previous years, move the left to right, and open up a position for perhaps Lance Hurd? He is the LSU transfer that I'm told is down to Oklahoma and Tennessee has the edge. I'm told that it would be very surprising if Lance Hurd did not end up a Vol. I also know with Lance Hurd that he's not a social media diva, Boo Carter. So he's a little bit tougher to read. He doesn't enjoy the recruiting process like some do so much. And I think that Tennessee ends up with Lance Hurd based off conversations I've had over the past 24 hours. I think it's just a matter of time. But I also think he's very smart, and we're going to discuss this with Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin either ran off a couple of former Vols or they left for more money. So nowadays, kids have to be smart. I couldn't have done this at 17, but I got to have a contract in place or cash in hand before I'm coming to your school. We saw it with Jaden Rashada at Florida. There was no money there for him. So we've got a lot to get to, and why Alabama boosters are delusional. Caleb Calhoun, how are you, sir?
I am good, Dave. Happy Thursday. And just missed on an NBA parlay bet last night, but I actually still made more money than I lost last night. So I'm a wildly successful gambler.
Caleb may have a problem.
The key is if you ever lose, just bet twice as much the next day and you'll always get your money back, guys.
Right. That's what Norm Macdonald used to say. And it was funny enough. I was doing a Nashville radio station just a second ago, and instead of commercials for gambling websites, they were running a commercial for people who need help with gambling. And I thought, Caleb.
Whatever. Alcohol and gambling is good for you.
That's right. It doesn't say anything in the Bible about not gambling. So it's definitely not a sin.
True.
There you go.
And Jesus' first miracle was turning water into wine. So
there you go. Today's tough question. We will have a betting section of the show. We might do that. We'll also have our 5 favorite minutes. Here we go. It is time for today's tough question. And I'm going to go ahead and tell you, if you don't like this, it's going to hurt my feelings because I love this topic. because I think so much of Josh Heupel. Here we go. Today's tough question brought to you by Andy Mason of AndyMasonRealEstate.com.
Today's tough question. Take a side. Take a stand. The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of offthehooksports.com.
Okay. John Harbaugh.
Jim.
John. I can't remember the dad's name. He's a coach too. Jim Harbaugh, if he's the head coach at your school, you're going to be pretty good. Can we agree with that? And now he's proven that he can win a national championship. So the question that is on YouTube, and please click on that, it's today's tough question brought to you by Andy Mason of AndyMasonRealEstate.com. And I haven't even clicked over to the YouTube page because I'm interested to see what the response is. I give you this option, Caleb. Knowing what you know about Harbaugh, tough to deal with, violations left and right. Would you rather have Jim Harbaugh and the championship, and then he spurned you for the NFL for the past 4 years? You had to give him a pay cut at one point. He's a jackass to work with. I think you would agree with that by all indications. He wins his championship and he's gone to the NFL. Or would you rather take your chances with a decade of Josh Heupel? I ask you that question right now. It is on our YouTube page, and Smoky Mountain Red said he misclicked. So let's go ahead and take a look at that as I clicked on the wrong thing. First, give me your answer. What would your answer be? Would you take a decade with Josh Heupel thinking that, hey, I'm going to win a championship? Or would you take the surefire Jim Harbaugh and he's a jackwagon? Wow. So right now, Smoky Mountain Red said that he accidentally clicked on the wrong one. So it might be our first 100% poll. Caleb, what would you take?
I'm breaking with the poll. I'm sorry, guys. This is always been my thing, and I believe it in the NFL too. You take, look, let me say this up front. I actually believe Josh Heupel's going to win a championship at Tennessee. I do believe in that. I do believe in him. But I approach everything with the win now mode, and I approach the sure thing over the not sure thing all the time. So while I believe Josh Heupel's going to win a championship, you're telling me I'm sure Jim Harbaugh wins a championship.
You got one in your pocket.
Got one. I'm going with Jim Harbaugh. Going with Jim Harbaugh every single time.
But let's assume he's gone, okay, which I think he will be.
Okay, fine. He's gone. I don't care. I got a championship. Let me ask you this, Dave. Bo Schembechler is a Michigan legend, was there for 21 years. Jim Harbaugh's probably gone after 8. Who do you think's held in higher esteem at Michigan? Bo Schembechler never won a championship, but he won like 7 Big Ten titles. But who do you think is held in higher esteem between the two now?
I still think it's Schembechler because I think that Harbaugh's been incredibly tough to deal with and flirted with the NFL and basically gave the middle finger to Wolverines fans. Do you not?
No, he gave them a national championship. The championship outweighs everything. The national title outweighs Bo Schembechler's 13 Big Ten titles. Bo Schembechler won 13 Big Ten titles in 21 years and never got a national title. So Jim Harbaugh is more beloved than Bo Schembechler for winning that national title. Championships matter, and it's win now. Football is a win now league. I said this in 2011 that the Colts would regret cutting Peyton Manning. I don't care about the prospect of Andrew Luck in the future. You take the sure thing 100% of the time. Everybody goes for the future and the long term, and they always sacrifice what could be better and sure in the moment. I am a win now person. Always go with the sure bet in the short term over the possibilities of the long term in football.
Smoky Mountain Red says pre-NIL and portal, then maybe, but with current hurdles, keep a coach around. I agree with that, and I hadn't really thought of that. Wrong. Smoky Mountain Red. Okay, Smoky Mountain Red might have got me a good column idea right there on the message board. Here's why I would take a decade with Heupel. Is I believe coaching turnover can destroy a program, and I think you're going to see that at Alabama. I really believe, and I think they made the best hire they could in Kalen DeBoer, but I think they're going to struggle mightily. So continuity matters. Tennessee hasn't had that. And let me tell you what I think about Josh Heupel and championships. Today's tough question brought to you by Andy Mason, AndyMasonRealEstate.com. Best prices, service in the biz. 40 years of experience, AndyMasonRealEstate.com in Knoxville. He's my realtor. He should be yours. I think that if you put the over-under at a half, I'm taking the over for Josh Heupel. If you put the over-under at 1.5, I might take the over as well. So you have an opportunity to win multiple championships in this theoretical scenario, and you also have some continuity. I'm usually a bird in the hand guy, but I differ in this, and you have to throw in there too, Caleb, that Jim Harbaugh has done everything he can to embarrass the university. I mean, who in the world gets suspended during the season twice, right? That doesn't happen, but it happened to Jim Harbaugh. So
did a national championship.
It did, and he's trying to get stuff written into his contract now where he can commit NCAA violations and not get fired for cause. I mean, it's just absurd. So I'm going to go with the decade with Heupel, and I can't believe I'm saying it because we all know what a championship means. We saw it in 98. It changes the way your program's viewed. But I'll take a decade with Heupel. I really will. I don't think it's close.
I believe Heupel will win a championship. But I take what I know over what I believe 100% of the time, and I don't compromise on that. Hey, Dave, I got a question for you.
Lay it on me, brother.
How many national championships did Miami win from 1979 to 1991?
79 to 91, they would have won 3.
4. 1 with Howard Schnellenberger, 1 with Jimmy Johnson, 2 with Dennis Erickson.
I bet.
You know, they never had a coach last more than 6 years. They had a coach for 5 years, a coach for 5 years, and a coach for 6 years. But Tennessee had stability under Johnny Majors. And how many national championships did Tennessee get with stability?
Now, wait a second. I don't know if you've been to Powell before, but it ain't Miami-Dade County. Okay, there's a lot more talent there. And in reality, the reason Miami won those championships is because facilities across the board, across the nation, weren't fantastic. So they didn't have that to overcome. Now they've had facilities to overcome for more than 2 decades. They've still done all right. But no, I mean, that's kind of apples and oranges. No pun intended, right? Or that's hurricanes.
Oh, oranges. I get it because of Miami. I'm saying stability is overrated. You get a coach for 5. Florida had Urban Meyer for 6 years. You think Florida would trade? You think Florida? Here's a question for you. I'm going to ask, what do you think Florida fans prefer, Dave? And this is a really good question. Do you think Florida fans prefer the 6 years with Urban Meyer or the 12 with Steve Spurrier?
12.
You think they prefer the 12 years with Steve Spurrier over the 6 with Urban Meyer?
Yes. Likable guy. 1 championship. I see where you're getting at. Urban Meyer had 2. Yes. I believe that they enjoyed that run more so than the team of felons that they had.
Okay, let's say this. Hypothetically, Arizona State actually beats Ohio State in the 96 Rose Bowl, which means Florida would not have won the national championship that year.
Okay, then Meyer.
So Spurrier it'd be Meyer, right? It'd be Meyer, wouldn't it?
Yeah, then definitely Meyer. There's no question about it. All right, so I wanted to address that on our YouTube page, and again, that vote right now is overwhelmingly 10 years of Heupel and chance it, or Harbaugh and he has the 1 season. So we have a surprise guest. No, he's gone. All right, Ron Slay clicked on, and then he realized that it was later in the program. So Ron Slay will join us in hour number 2. Did you see him pop up? In a row,
man.
Did you see him pop up?
I think he was just making sure that he could get in. I think he was just testing it. He was beta testing it, guys.
Okay, I heard the bleep, and I'm like, I wonder who is coming in. You will never wonder about the quality of the ingredients in your hemp with your if you go to Hemp House. I go to the premier hemp dispensary online with a wide variety, great selection, and strict standards to ensure you only receive the best in CBD or Delta products. Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Hemp House Chat with 2Ts.com. Absolutely love them. That is the hemp house. Use the promo code hooked and get a 10% discount. The promo code hooked and get a 10% discount. And this just in, Tennessee has an absolute ton of money, over a $200 million budget. Give me some of the numbers. Absolutely blew me away when Tennessee released that yesterday.
Yes, so Tennessee set an athletic revenue record for the 2022-2023 academic school year. The Vols had over $202 million in operating revenue, this is part of Danny White's, I think it's his $500 million goal, right? And it comes from
$500 million as a budget.
He has, I think it's a $500 million over like 3 years, to be fair. So like, or 2 years or something like that. But it's a raise $500 million. But 13%, which is, by the way, a pretty big number, came from ticket sales alone. 39.7 million in 2022-23. Contributions were 62.2 million in 2022 and 2023. Concessions and parking, there was a $12.2 million increase. And royalties, licensing, and sponsorships, there was a $23.9 million increase. That was all just in 2022, 2023. And it's part of the Rise Glorious 5-year strategy plan that he wants to basically have an annual operating budget of over $200 million eventually. And Tennessee is ahead of its goal doing that. I think this is just further proof that, guys, I've told you this for a while. I didn't say Josh Heupel was a home run hire. I never said that. I'm not going to pretend I saw that coming. I thought it could work out. But the reason I believed in it is because I did say when Danny White was hired as athletic director, I said that's the most home run hire of all time. He's the best athletic director in all of college athletics. There's not a close second, quite honestly. And when you're dealing with
pretty strong, who would you even have at second?
I don't know. I don't know who I don't even know where I could go, honestly. I think Greg Bird is a pretty good one at Alabama. I give him some credit. I can't blame him for the Nate Oates.
I don't like the way he handled basketball last year or this year.
Okay, I could see that. That's fair. But I mean, who else is there? I mean, I don't know anybody even close. Maybe, because here's the thing. Sometimes you can give an athletic director
credit. Southern California. Just, I don't know who it is, but they were able to.
They're already regretting the Lincoln Riley hire.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying. I'm reaching for you.
I don't think there's a close second. I really don't. I mean, I can't go the Michigan athletic director with Juwan Howard and then Jim Harbaugh. You're right, is just playing him for a fiddle the whole time. If you look at what Tennessee athletics is doing and where they were when Danny White took over, this is Tennessee. I'm going to say it. Okay, maybe LSU. Is it Scott Woodward or is that the previous athletic director?
I'm not sure, but everybody knows you like
he probably. Sorry.
Yeah,
no,
I'm
okay,
not sure, but everybody knows you like LSU.
LSU, the athletic director, he hired Kim Mulkey, won a national title. He hired the baseball coach who won a national title, and he got Brian Kelly there. I mean, that's a pretty good trifecta of hires, isn't it?
Agreed. But as you said, Danny White's the best athletic director in the nation. Look at Tennessee's baseball program. As much as the Lady Vols have struggled, they are still relevant. And football continues to get better, even though it took a bit of a step back last year. You think that it's going to be fantastic in the coming years. So, and Tennessee was first in the Director's Cup. So if I'm Danny White in the SEC, Danny White said Danny White is a rock star and flexing this morning. Smoky Mountain Red said that. I'm flexing my agent to get a bigger contract.
Let's talk about what this means on the larger scale too. Because Jimmy's talked about this the other day. He wants a salary cap for NIL. I don't think there's any possible way that a salary cap will hold up in court. I'm just going to be honest. There's no way that it. Yeah.
I think Jimmy would agree with you on that too.
Right. In the age of NIL, here's who's going to take a hit with salary more than anybody else, Dave. You ready? You know who's going to take a hit?
I'm ready.
Coaches. Their salary is where the sacrifice is going to be made. because what you're going to enter into is a Moneyball era of coaches, like Moneyball in baseball with the Oakland A's and Billy Beane in 2003. You're going to enter that for coaches. There is going to be schools that would rather spend money on NIL to get players, but they don't want to, but they want to keep up their facilities too. Where do you cut the money for the coaches? So what you have to do is you have to identify coaches that no one else has identified and hire them before they're even before they're that much in demand. Danny White has already done that with Josh Heupel. Josh Heupel was not in demand when Danny White hired him. He's going to have to do that with the Lady Vols probably pretty soon, because I like you and I both agree Kelly Harper's a dead person walking at this point.
Well, I think that what he did with Heupel was smart. I think he paid him on the front end and got him locked in, and knew that Tennessee could take a bit of a step back in 2023, so you're comfortable moving forward. Now there will be an extension for I'm told for Josh Heupel coming up, because you want to keep 5 years on the contract to tell a prospect that, hey, I'm gonna be here for the next 5 years and your entire career. But I don't think you have to give him a raise based off an 8-4 regular season or 9-4 complete season.
No, and where I was getting with this was because of that revenue, Danny White's not going to have to play Moneyball as much as other schools will with coaches, because the NIL is going to be there. And because here's the thing, we talked about the A's played Moneyball, but the Yankees and Red Sox didn't have to play Moneyball. Okay, so playing Moneyball is smart if you have to, but you'd rather be in a position where you don't have to. And now Danny White can pay Josh Heupel. He could play a little Moneyball with the hiring the women's basketball coach, but with this revenue, Tennessee's got enough. Look, money matters way more. Revenue matters way more now than it did 10 years ago. I think we can all agree on that. So you can legitimately put up money to upgrade facilities and get good coaches and have enough for the boosters to pay the players at this point. And that's why the revenue, direct revenue, matters so much. So Danny White deserves a ton of credit for this. And look, he's a genius on revenue. His moves is what got UCF into the Big 12 as a Power 5 conference team. And Danny White Tennessee should be lucky to have him, because I think more than as important as hires are, raising money matters more than ever for an athletic director. Finding ways to generate revenue is actually more important now than the right hires, quite honestly.
Yep. Fair point. I think that Danny White has done a fantastic job. I think we also have underestimated, and listen, I don't think they should change the name. I think it should be Thompson Bowling Arena, but it's going to be the Food City Entertainment District. I wouldn't underestimate what that's going to do for recruiting for Tennessee, because that thing's going to be pretty awesome. And that thing doesn't get done with your average athletic director. Would you agree on that?
Not even close. You're right. Average athletic director is not pulling that off at all. And Danny White, look, I'm going to come. Danny White understands something that many Tennessee athletic directors did not understand, and that many athletic directors and boosters did not understand, which is that you fall behind when you cling to tradition, and you have to stay ahead of the curve. And Danny White, as much as I did not like the Thompson Bowling Arena change to Food City either, it's an era of money's driving athletic departments more than ever because of NIL. And they have to find ways to raise money without getting it from the boosters now, because they want the boosters to throw the money at the players. This was a way to do it.
All righty, Josh Ward in exactly 2 minutes, and he's going to tell us how Tennessee's offense gets better based off a column he wrote for Off the Hook Sports. Stay tuned. He's Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. Off the Hook Sports.
Got cataracts? We can fix that. Never miss another moment. With a little help from Doctors Campbell, Cunningham, Taylor, and Haun at cctis.com.
Hi, I'm Rick Terry, and we at Rick Terry Jewelry Designs pride ourselves in the highest quality craftsmanship from a family-owned business here in Knoxville for over 35 years. At Rick Terry Jewelry Designs, we also take pride in being an affordable option for all your game day accessories, especially those fire opals. At Rick Terry Jewelry Designs, we want to be your jeweler every day, and especially on game day. Go Vols!
Hi, Mike Davis here with City Heating and Air, reminding you to always dare to compare. Our team provides quality local heating and air service, installation, and maintenance across East Tennessee. We use only the best equipment like American Standard heating and air conditioning for your residential, new construction, or commercial needs. Honesty, dependability, and customer satisfaction have been the cornerstones of our business since 1961. City Heat and Air.
We believe every day is a good day to be thirsty. With free samples on draft and lots of flavors to choose from, Tennessee Cider Company prepares a hard cider that's easy to enjoy. Some say it's the signature cider of the South. Others say it's the cure to your craving. They all say you'll savor every sip. The area of Gatlinburg has so much to offer, and so does Tennessee Cider Company. Add us to your list for shopping and fun experiences. You'll be glad you made the trip. Find our cidery in the Mountain Mall on the Gatlinburg Parkway. Sip smart. Sip the good stuff. Sip Tennessee Cider Company. Thirsty yet? Doors open at 10 a.m.
The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
Who's this guy?
Hello, who is it?
The Dave Hooker Show,
Who?
a presentation of Off the Hook Sports,
What?
YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the free Off the Hook Sports app. Back to Dave Hooker.
All right, let's get right into it. Tennessee's offense has to be better than last year. Can we all agree on that? Would you agree with that, Caleb?
Yes, it absolutely has to be better than last year.
Yes, and I think it will be. We're going to discuss why. Also, we're going to get Josh Ward's thoughts on Lance Hurd and what he's heard. I think it's Tennessee, but we shall discuss that. Did you like that? You just have to listen to Hurd's announcement. How about that, Captain of Puns there, Josh?
I heard what you did, and it's an easy one. The second try with listen, that's forcing it in there a little bit, but that's okay.
I actually thought that one was better than the first one.
Well, confidence is also important, so confidence in your jokes, I think, is good.
Or like Norm Macdonald having the willingness to let them fail miserably, which I obviously do.
That's right. We have to let our children learn to fail, and we have to let our friends, colleagues, whomever, do the same when it comes to whatever they are attempting.
Caleb, do we have time for me to do a quick, it's about a 12-minute Norm Macdonald joke. Is that okay?
A 12-minute Norm Macdonald joke?
We won't do that. Hit the like and subscribe button. Let's get to it right now. Josh's appearance is brought to you by Dynasty Pools and Spas. It is time for 4 downs, and 4 downs is right now.
4 downs. 4 questions. 4 answers. The Dave Hooker Show.
4
Downs. A presentation of offthehooksports.com.
How does Tennessee's offense get better? And I think Nico is a big answer to that, but there's more than that as we go ahead and get rolling. So we're going to hop in the hot tub at Dynasty Pools and Spas with Cooper Mays.
Cooper Mays here. Hit like and subscribe.
All right, Josh, here we go. First down brought to you by Dynasty Pools and Spas.
Coop here. First down.
All right, so there's a couple of different ways that Tennessee can get better. You rolled a column about this. If you had to pick one key player not named Nico, who would it be? The key player, and it can even be an incoming guy. It could be a Hurd. It could be whoever you think, but who's the key player that needs to take a major step up for the Vols to be better offensively in 2024? I ask you first, and then Caleb, let me get your thoughts.
I'll choose a combination, which is cheating a little bit, but I'll say Hurd and whoever's starting at left guard, because I think there's a very good chance Lance Hurd is Tennessee starting left tackle. So the guy next to him at left guard on the left side of Cooper Mays, I think is going to be a big deal. And that's because Tennessee's running game is going to be so important. Protecting Nico is going to be so important. And what Tennessee has on the left side of the offensive line is going to play a huge role in that, especially with the left guard position being an unknown. So whichever guy they figure out is the best option there at left guard between, let's assume, Lance Hurd and Cooper Mays is a big deal.
All right, Caleb.
I mean, Josh kind of stole mine because I was just going to say left tackle and left guard, and I kind of hate to fully agree with Josh, but he's absolutely right. And I mean, that's bold to say Lance hurt, but even if not, they got to find somebody behind to do it. And left guard to me is a big, big question, because that was a problem for Tennessee on the offensive line all of this year was left guard this past year. They tried Andre Carrick, homeboy can't play. Sorry. They tried Ollie Lane, veteran. Thanks, but no thanks. I'm not trying to be disrespectful, guys, but Jerome Carvin was severely missed in 2023. Severely missed.
You have to say no disrespect before providing the disrespectful commentary. It's null and void if you do that after the fact, just to clear things up.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
No offense, but don't take this the wrong way, but you have to start it out the way.
So this was like a big debate. There was a rapper from Memphis, you probably know him, Josh, Yo Gotti, who had a song before he got big called "After I Make Love to Your Woman, I'm Going to Tell You About It." But we all debated a real man would tell him before he makes love to his woman.
Like, that is total bullshit.
What do you think, Josh?
That's an area where you definitely have to be careful. So whatever the proper protocol is, I would make sure to follow it in that regard.
Well, I guess we can call and ask Michael Jordan's son what the proper protocol is, since he's
that one's been broken.
Yes, that one has been broken. All right, what down are we now, Coop?
Cooper Mays here. Second down.
Oh, by the way, I was going to go Brew McCoy just from a health standpoint. I'm not questioning his play, but he needs to be 100%. So I'll be different, and I'll go Brew McCoy, which I think you will be healthy from all indications. All right, so second down is this, and I think you guys just answered it. What is the key unit that needs to step up? So is it just the offensive line for both of you guys?
That's definitely the starting point in the conversation for me. Wide receiver needs to be improved. There was a clear step back from 2022 to 23. So what Brew McCoy is able to do coming back from injury, what kind of impact Chris Brazzell is able to make, and then the development of other players and or the arrival of the talented freshmen, what they're able to do is going to have a huge part of what this offense is able to become in 2024 too.
I'm a trenches guy. Josh has known me for 20 years, Josh? I'm a trenches guy, but I'm going to take wide receivers if I had to choose between the two to take a major step forward, and that would help Tennessee's offense the most. Caleb?
All right, I can't agree with you guys about receiver, because I just think they're naturally going to take a step forward because of who they've added and the health and everybody in the locker room. I think it is offensive line, but I'm going to give you guys a close second. And y'all are going to be shocked by this, but I'm actually going to say running backs. And the reason I want to say running backs is because, look, Dylan Sampson is a budding star. They want to be able to get him on the field, but he's got to step it up pass blocking, because I don't care how good the offensive line blocks. If Dylan Sampson is playing like complete air out there, Nico's going to get hit every time, and they can't use Dylan Sampson the way they want to until he actually learns to pick up a blitz.
Josh, along those lines, I know you really like Cam Selden, right?
I love his physical talent. Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's see how he develops as a runner. He has a lot to learn. I think that showed in the bowl game, but he also has a lot to work with from a size and skill set standpoint. So there's a ton of potential there. And Caleb's not wrong. I viewed it as how Tennessee performed in 2023 and where they need to be better. I don't expect Tennessee's running back room to be better than what it was this past year. I expect some kind of step back because they're having to replace Jalen Wright. But you mentioned my column, and we can talk about details there if you want to. But there are areas where the running game has to be better. Are the running backs themselves better? I have a hard time believing that, losing Jalen Wright. But they could match from a personnel standpoint because of the potential of somebody like Selden and Sampson's ability to improve, which Caleb's correct, needs to in his overall game. The room itself, I don't think goes into 2024 more impressive than what Tennessee had from a personnel standpoint this past fall.
Hey, along those lines, I'm going to sidestep. So this is second and a half down if you don't care. And nowadays, would you rather be great at running back, which a lot of guys can fill those positions nowadays, and the game has changed to where it's very de-emphasized, or would you rather be great at punter? I know what Caleb's going to say because hell, he doesn't believe in punting. But I'm going to ask Josh first. I'll tell you, Josh's appearance brought to you by Dynasty Pools and Spas. All spas include delivery, cover, setups, chemicals, no extras to buy. Don't be fooled by big box store chemicals. You can order on them online at dynastypoolsandspas.com. They use fillers, not Dynasty Pools and Spas, right there in Athens with that showroom mentioned off the hook, and you get $500 off your spa. Would you rather have an elite punter or an elite running back, Josh?
Running back.
Not even a question.
No, I have a great amount of respect for the kicking game, all aspects of it. But no, I'd much rather be a lead at running back, the guy that's going to touch the ball 15 to 25 times in a game. And
have you ever been midway through a commercial read, Josh, and thought to yourself, that question that I asked Josh is stupid?
Hey guys,
yeah.
Can I play a little devil's advocate for 1 second, even though I don't like punting? 2003, Tennessee, Miami. Would you have replaced Dustin Colquitt for any running back in Tennessee history in that game?
I don't know, Josh. You go first.
So does that mean I no longer have a punter, or do I still have a punter? Like,
no, you just snap it back to air.
You have a punter, but you don't have Dustin Colquitt.
I love Dustin Colquitt. He is an all-time Vol. He went to Farragut Middle School. He is a guy that spent close to 2 decades in the NFL. He's got a ring, but I'd still replace him with another one of the many fine punters that Tennessee's had. Britton could step into his role. Shout out to Britton, who had a great NFL career. So
not a great
I don't even know what question I'm answering. I would value the elite running back over a high level punter.
Josh, this is that game though. Do you think you replace Dustin Colquitt? There's virtually 100% chance you don't get that punt that Sean Taylor fumbles, which is the greatest punt in the history of college football.
Greatest.
And Tennessee, by the way, Tennessee loses to Miami if Sean Taylor doesn't fumble that punt. They would have gone down and scored and won.
Most magnificent punt in the history of college football.
Dude, honestly, what do you if Sean Taylor doesn't fumble that punt, does Miami go down and score and win? What do y'all think? Honest question. I think they do.
I honestly have to go back and think about it. But has Patrick Mahomes ever played a game where he didn't play well? It was low scoring and they had a good punt in the game. You're not dropping Patrick Mahomes for a punter. So what are we talking about here?
It's Tennessee beat Miami solely because of Dustin Colquitt. He single-handedly won that game. And you guys are forgetting that it was a 10-6 game. Miami was significantly more talented than Tennessee. Tennessee wasn't in Miami's class on talent in that game. And Dustin Colquitt won the game.
I shouldn't have veered off bad. I feel like Caleb's arguing with himself.
No, that's wrong.
So that game, you're kicking off Cedric Houston from the team. What are we doing in 03?
Yes.
I think they played games before the Miami game, and I think they played after. If I'm not mistaken, they played a full schedule.
I said for that game. That game specifically. Okay. You replace Dustin Colquitt with Britton, and you start Jamal Lewis. You lose that game.
I don't know if that's true because Jamal might have busted off an 80-yard touchdown run. How do you know that that's not true? Plus,
not against Miami's defense.
Britton spent a decade in the NFL. What are we talking about right now?
Okay,
he did not pay that punt.
All right, third down.
Britton was the punter on a Super Bowl winning team.
All SEC center Cooper Mays here. 4th down.
Wait, there's a third down. There's a third down. You forgot third down because of all that.
Wait,
Tennessee center Cooper Mays here. 3rd down.
3rd down. Cooper sounds so
Dave's
excited.
just so motivated 4th down, so we can punt on this segment. I mean, this is
so that Caleb can pass on punting. If you had to pick Tennessee's 3 wide receivers right now, because we know that they like to settle on 3 and play 3, who would they be, Josh?
Right now, I would say Chris Brazzell, Squirrel White, Brew McCoy. That, of course, assumes health with Brew coming back from injury. We haven't seen Brazzell on the field with Tennessee yet, but those would be my 3 right now.
Why would you go Brazzell above Mike Matthews, just out of curiosity?
He's more proven in college, which Mike Matthews has not played in yet, and Matthews is going to be a freshman, and I need to see a freshman get that kind of opportunity ahead of a transfer who's been brought in to play right away.
Okay. Caleb, thoughts?
I obviously Brew McCoy
personally.
Yeah, I mean, I think Josh nailed it too. I'm going to go out on a limb because I saw enough of him before he got hurt at the end of the year that I think I misjudged Dante Thornton. And I think fully healthy all season to kind of get back into rhythm, I think Dante Thornton will occupy that other wideout spot ahead of Chris Brazzell and then Squirrel White in the slot.
Well, that's coming a long way, Josh, because at one point Caleb said Dante Thornton is dead to me.
I did call him a disgrace. I shouldn't have done that. That was wrong.
Well, Thornton came in and he was given an opportunity right away without much challenge coming from Morgan, right? They raved about his talent, his athleticism. Nobody's questioning his athleticism, but it did not work out for him playing inside. He made some more plays on the outside. His only touchdown of the season came on the injury that he suffered. So he was starting to come on. I would have liked to have seen how he could have finished out the season. Thornton will be a part of the competition, but he does have to compete more legitimately this year, I think, for a spot with somebody like Brazel coming in with a talented freshman. Nimrod and Webb got more playing time, more experience. Let's give them a chance to develop, because 2 years ago, nobody thought Jalen Hyatt was going to go from a guy they couldn't count on to winning the Bolitnikoff Award. So there will be a chance for development. Another guy we're maybe counting out is, does the coaching staff look at Jackson Ross as a player that should be considered in the mix as well? He's already proven what he can do as a punter. We know the value there. So I'd give him a look on the outside as well, with the ability to use both legs.
Did you know he can line up with his left or right foot forward?
Yeah, so he can probably play both sides of the field. I'm not sure that they have that same level of confidence in all the other receivers.
Okay, 4th down.
All SEC center Cooper Mays here. 4th down.
All right. The offensive line. So I want to get into Hurd, but not quite yet. I want to get your thoughts on the other 4 positions. If Hurd's not a factor, do you feel good about those guys, great about those guys, or okay about those guys? Let's leave Hurd out of the conversation. He's not committed yet. So what do you think about those guys as it stands right this second?
Feel great about having Cooper Mays back at center. I would say good to great about Javonte Spraggins, a right guard. Okay to good about John Campbell Jr., left or right. Left guard, concerned. And then we haven't gotten to the 5th spot because of Hurd. So as a group, I would say I feel solid about what Tennessee has on the offensive line. That's before we get to depth, which is a real concern, I think, right now. And like I said, with some of the young wide receivers or less experienced wide receivers, let's see if some of these offensive linemen develop and there's more confidence in the summer. But right now, behind 3 or 4 guys, I don't sense much confidence yet.
All right. What about you, Caleb?
Yeah, I'm with Josh. I do think there's going to be some development. I just can't see either Aiden Bussell or Vyson Lang. I can't see one of those guys not kind of emerging. But I think Josh Heupel's recruited a lot of bodies on the offensive line just to see who emerges, and the fact that they didn't enter the portal this all season, I think, is actually a good sign that they're confident in at least one of them kind of stepping up and occupying that left guard role. Because we know I'm pretty sure Heupel just showed Addison Nichols-Lador, was just like, get out. And so Jackson Ross would have been a bit tougher left guard than Addison Nichols, just so you guys know.
Jackson Ross, man, he can play anywhere.
Those Australian rugby players, man, they're tough. So
I mean, it's Heisman time for Jackson Ross. All right, Josh, let me ask you this. What are you hearing on Lance Hurd? Because that's what everybody is curious about and everybody's excited about. And I don't know why my light just got a lot brighter. Lance Hurd, what do you think?
I think he's going to be at Tennessee. I haven't heard of any other school being in the mix. So unless something falls through with whatever is being discussed behind the scenes for him to be at Tennessee, I think he'll play for the Vols this upcoming fall. Ole Miss was mentioned early on. Not aware that he ever visited. Oklahoma doesn't appear to be in the mix at this point. So unless there's a late suitor that comes in and gets him to reconsider or change his mind, I think Lance Hurd is going to play at Tennessee.
I was told about 70-30 that Oklahoma was a player, but I mean, everybody has some different information. What if it's so Tennessee, as you and I both believe it is to a different extent, why not now? Why not? Why hasn't he done it?
Well, that's why I don't think we can say 100% Tennessee, because until something's done, whatever has to be taken care of, if it's related to name, image, likeness, agreements, I don't know. That stuff is done in private. he's also been a private guy. He's not a social media player. He's not posting. He's not providing some kind of updates that make you wonder. It's funny that the silence is what makes people wonder, which is often what I think fans want because they see players that are active on social media, posting cryptic messages, and that makes you wonder. So the fact that he hasn't done anything publicly, I think has caused concern when a lot of times that can be a good thing. But I've yet to hear anything other than Tennessee for Lance Hurd in the last 7 or 8 days.
Yeah, Caleb Giroux, who covers recruiting for us, said the same thing. He said he hasn't heard anything but Tennessee. Caleb, I want you to address this as well, but Josh, let me ask you, for a transfer portal class that lacks a little luster because they had to pay current players, and I think they overspent last year, in my opinion, what would Hurd mean to this class? The transfer class, the entire class, how big of a pickup would that be?
I think it would be probably the most important piece. We talked about where Tennessee needs to be better from 23 to 24. Well, if that's on the offensive line, getting a guy that can play either tackle spot, but I think the anticipation is left tackle. Speaking of social media, John Campbell Jr. is posting workout videos showing him lining up on the right side in his stance. So that could indicate, okay, preparing for that side so that Lance can come in and play on the left side. That is some speculation, but that's also been some of the talk behind the scenes. But also, it's not just Hurd being able to provide some help for this year. He has multiple years of eligibility. Tennessee has, to this point, not been able to find help on the offensive line through recruiting. Well, this would be adding a player from the 23 class who would be able to help right away and start for the next couple of years. And if he reaches his potential, that's it. He's off to the NFL. But it would help fill that hole that just continues to exist because nobody has proven himself yet as a high school recruit for Josh Heupel's staff. So you can improve the offensive line for this year. You raise the potential based on his talent as a 5-star guy a year ago, and you get multiple years of service. So there are a number of boxes that you're checking off if you're able to add Lance Hurd.
Yeah. And Caleb, along those lines, to beat everybody else in the country and take a guy from LSU is a pretty big statement, regardless of the player, right?
So I think it's pretty clear Lance Hurd is going to Tennessee because of the John Campbell working out at right tackle. That's actually kind of what spurred Dave and I talking about this morning, Josh, funny enough, because either they found an option at left tackle that we don't know about, or Lance Hurd is committing to Tennessee. But no, I don't think it's as big as you guys think. And I'm just going to tell you guys something, and I'm going to go out. I said this 2 weeks ago, and I said I wouldn't change if he committed to Tennessee. I think Lance Hurd is more of a diva than people want to let on. The guy left LSU because he didn't want to play anything but left tackle. And now he's going to Tennessee because he wants to specifically play left tackle. I believe Tennessee's opening up the NIL checkbook. I believe this is the type of thing that creates friction in the locker room. It's exactly what derailed Texas A&M. And honestly, it's funny. He's quiet on social media. I think we mistake social media presence with being a bit of a diva and lack of leadership and lack of intangibles. Because Boo Carter, everybody tried to pretend that Boo Carter was posting some cryptic stuff every time he was on social media. No, he was just promoting Tennessee the whole time. And Boo Carter seems like a great leader in the locker room. I'm sorry, I said it when I didn't think he was going to Tennessee, so I kind of have to be consistent now that I think he is going to Tennessee. I think Lance Hurd's going to cause more trouble than just filling a void, quite honestly.
Well, I would disagree with that because I've seen guys come through the transfer portal. And Josh, I think the one great thing that Tennessee has in recruiting that is hard to replicate is their culture. So if Hurd comes in and he's a malcontent, I think he's going to be booted pretty quick, or he's going to adjust when he realizes that everybody around him has his best interest at heart. Those are my thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it doesn't work out. He has to prove himself. He's not been an SEC starter, so he is an unproven player coming in. We are talking about potential with Hurd. So could there be problems? Sure, but this is just how it goes. I mean, players want money. If they are in demand, they want money. That's how it goes for all these schools that are recruiting at this kind of level for Tennessee. That goes for guys that are available or guys that are thinking, do I stay or do I go? I mean, Tennessee has guys on the roster that could have gone elsewhere but they wanted more money, and it was given to them so that they would stay. And that's not a Tennessee thing. That's college football 23, 24, and beyond. So that's a possibility, Caleb, for sure. But I don't have anything to point to say that that's going to happen. Dave, you asked for this class. Is he the biggest piece? How would he factor in? I mean, who is more important for Tennessee for the offense in 2024? I think Lance Hurd is more important than getting Chris Brazzell. And I think highly of Chris Brazzell and his potential and what he could be. But if they don't get Hurd, what are they doing?
Well, no,
what is the option? Maybe they go find somebody else, but Diego Pounds didn't visit from North Carolina, so that's not the answer. Gerald Mincy left. Obviously, he's not the answer. So they got to have somebody at tackle, left or right. They've got to have somebody. And with multiple years, I mean, at some point, it's up to the coaching staff to identify the right guys for the roster and to have the culture. If Cooper were gone and Spraggins were gone and Amari Thomas were gone, I would have more concern about where's your culture from 22 to 3 to 4. But they have so many guys that it's their responsibility. So if they don't get it worked out, I think it's more about the people that are already in Knoxville than it is Lance Hurd.
No, that's fair. Let me ask you guys both. And I'm going to go with Hurd as well, that he would be the most significant one because he can play right away. That trumps high school like Matthews or any of the other highly rated guys, Merklinger or any of those other guys. So I think and Merklinger plays quarterback. So that's a key position, obviously. But if Hurd's number one in this class, as far as most important when it's all said and done, signed, sealed, and delivered, I'm just curious, who's number two? I mean, who's number two that Tennessee should crow the most about? Is it Brazzell, as you would say, Josh, or is it Matthews because you get more out of him? Thoughts?
Oh, sorry. So we're not just talking transfers. We're talking about high schoolers coming in as well.
Yes. So you get a longer impact, but you don't get an immediate impact.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's Matthews, maybe it's Jordan Ross. Ross has incredible potential. What he's able to do immediately is a question, but it would be for Matthews as well. I think an underrated guy in this conversation would be Jermod McCoy. I think he has the physical makeup to fit in with what Tennessee needs as a corner playing in the SEC. Again, multiple years of eligibility. He has proven that he can play at the Power 5 level. He was at Oregon State, but we're not scoffing at the Pac-12 right now based on the offensive play out there this past season, right? So I don't know if McCoy is number two, but from the transfer class, he could be number one. From a need standpoint, they had to go get some help at corner. So McCoy can come in and play right away at a position that Tennessee has to replace a bunch of guys. So I would not overlook him. But Jordan Ross has as much potential of anybody that is coming into Tennessee's 2024 roster.
I'll give you my answer. I'll give you my answer because I think he's going to start if he lives up to his billing. But I'll do it via a knock-knock joke. How's that?
Okay.
Love it.
Okay. Josh, knock.
Who's there?
Boo.
Boo-hoo.
Don't cry, Josh. Boo Carter's going to be a great player.
Okay.
Dave, I was with you. I'm actually kind of, y'all both took mine because I was leaning Boo Carter or Jamar McCoy. Because I actually agree with you, Josh. Jamar McCoy coming to Oregon State. I always have red flags about Power 5 transfers unless the coach is fired or the Power 5 school's relegated. And Oregon State's about to be relegated. They're barely Power 5 now because of what happened, and their coach left. But just to be a little avant-garde, I'll throw in Jacoby Thomas from MTSU because the safety coming in, I think he's going to fill the other safety void across Boo Carter, who's going to start. But we are underrating, like, what's more important this year? If they get Lance Hurd, here's a quick question. What's more important? The players they got returning or the transfer? Or what's a bigger impact on the program? The players that they were able to keep coming back for 2024 or the players they got through the transfer portal? What was a bigger impact on the Vols?
I think it's clearly the dudes that they kept, right, Josh?
Yeah, because Cooper's so important at center for a young quarterback coming in. Plus, he's really good. Omar Norman Lott and Amari Thomas are potential NFL guys. So to have them back, if they were gone, I don't know what they're doing on the interior. That's still a big question for 2025. So yeah, the guys coming back to me is still the biggest deal. But yeah, if all those guys had moved on as was anticipated 3 or 4 months ago, that also would have affected what Tennessee would have done in the transfer portal because they would have had greater needs. They would have had more resources available that weren't being allocated to the guys coming back. But as it stands, I think the guys coming back would be more important.
Yeah, I agree. It's it's the guys coming back. Very similar to how when Nickelback needed a lead guitarist, they decided to just promote Ryan Peake from within, and that's why they're the greatest rock band of the 2000s.
Nickelback is the crappiest band that's ever been. Josh, anything else, sir? Thoughts on Nickelback? Thumbs up, thumbs down.
Great band. Love them.
Yeah, Caleb reminded me of the 03 Miami game, and I do have respect for that.
Yeah, that's pretty good stuff. All right, Josh, great stuff. We'll talk to you soon. You can listen to him from noon to 3 on the Sports Animal in Knoxville and then in the Tri-Cities as well. What do they call it? The Sports Monster?
Sports Monster up in the Tri-Cities. That's right, AM 640.
There you go. He's a monster. He's an animal. He's Josh Ward. Thank you, Josh.
Thanks, guys.
Josh Ward joins us each and every Thursday. We certainly appreciate that.
Dave, would you rather listen to Nickelback or the Princess of Punk, Avril Lavigne? They're like two of the greatest of all time.
Neither. It's not good music.
It's amazing music.
So the Campbell lining up at right tackle thing, isn't there a chance he was going to do that regardless of Hurd standing because they've done it the past 2 years? Should we be wary of reading too much into that?
No, I think that, maybe, but I guess like I told you a couple weeks ago, I think there is a philosophy now that you put your best tackle at right tackle. And I think that's kind of developing in football because I think, and I saw this a lot with Jeremy Pruitt, and Nick Saban was doing this towards the end of his career with Will Anderson. Did you ever notice they were putting their best edge rushers not on the blind side, but on the other side, because they realized that you can disrupt slant patterns if you have the edge rusher going, rushing the quarterback in front of him from behind him rather than behind him. And I think it's more important rather than just getting the sacks. I think nowadays, and Dave, you tell me how common this was back in the day, I think it's more important to cloud a quarterback's vision. That's as important as it is to sack the quarterback, because the slant patterns are always going to be there. You just have to make sure he doesn't see them.
No, that's fair. I think that based off history, I'm not placing as much on Campbell moving to right tackle and showcasing himself in that position on social media as I am the people I've talked to based off Hurd. I think there's a good chance that that's just the way Josh Heupel likes to do things, move him to right tackle because he's done it for the past 2 years. So I don't place as much of an emphasis on that as some people have. But I still think Tennessee ends up with Hurd. I would be very surprised if that's not the case. Avril Lavigne, what is wrong with you? All right, so coming up.
He was a skater boy.
Yeah, so
she said, horrible. "See you later, boy."
Just
he wasn't
horrible.
good enough.
Terry
for
Jewelry
her.
Design. They want to be your jeweler, not your singer. Looking for affordable game day jewelry? How about the Fire Opals, a Tennessee tradition? Check out rickterryjewelry.com, rickterryjewelry.com. We certainly appreciate that and support our sponsors. That is why we're here. It's very, very important. I'll remind you that Josh's appearance brought to you by Dynasty Pools and Spas. Mention Off the Hook and you get $500 off, and that includes all accessories, delivery, and the whole 9 yards. It is truly awesome. Lane Kiffin's got himself a mess in Oxford. We discuss that next. And one way or another, he either can't pay players or is not going to pay players that he promised. And I will tell you a little bit more about what I heard about the Tyler Barron situation, why he left in the first place. So stay tuned. 2 minutes. Caleb Calhoun, Dave Hooker, Off the Hook Sports.
Sun, sand, and salt water, the beach is a very relaxing place. Unless you wear contacts. Ow! Open your eyes to the best the beach has to offer with LASIK vision correction from Campbell Cunningham Laser Center.
Sports Treasures in North Knoxville is one of the South's largest sports cards and memorabilia dealers, featuring over 10 million sports cards from vintage to modern. Sports Treasures carries a full line of hobby boxes, singles, autographed memorabilia, Tennessee Vol collectibles, fan cave decorations, and so much more. See a museum full of collectibles at Sports Treasures, 4819 North Broadway in Fountain City, and Sports Treasures on Facebook. Sports Treasures, where the real sports fan goes to shop.
Have you seen the latest TriStar Hats Co. product?
TriStar Hats Co.? What's that?
You know, those really cool hats, shirts, tumblers, and even license plates with 3 stars like the official Tennessee flag and stripes like the American flag. Pretty patriotic if you ask me.
Ah, gotcha. Seen those. Those are cool. Where can I get them?
Simple. TriStarHatsCo.com. And if you order now, there's 10% on any order $50 or more. Plus, use the promo code HOOKED.
With the promo code HOOKED, you get 10% off. That's hooked.
And don't forget free shipping with any order over $50. Stock up at TriStarHatsCo.com. That's TriStarHatsCo.com. There are plenty of wannabes out there, so make sure you go to TriStarHatsCo.com for the best quality and customer service.
Will do, and I'll be sure to use the promo code HOOKED. That's hooked when I do to save an additional 10% off. TriStarHatsCo.com.
TriStar Hats Co. is a trademark of TriStar Hats Co. LLC. Any use without express written consent is prohibited.
The Dave Hooker Show, represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorneys. Play to win, banksjones.com.
Who's this guy?
Hello, who is it?
The Dave Hooker Show,
Who?
a presentation of Off the Hook Sports,
What?
YouTube, Apple, Spotify, and the free Off the Hook Sports app. Back to Dave Hooker.
I'm not sure he would believe it because he's very self-confident, but I think Lane Kiffin's got himself in a little bit of a mess here. And I'm not exactly sure, based off some things I've heard since my column posted, questioning whether or not he could afford guys like Tyler Barron that transferred to Ole Miss and then flipped to Louisville, whether he could afford them. Since I've talked to some people who said maybe it's not that, maybe he's running those guys off because he thinks he can get some Alabama guys. Well, sure enough, he's tweeting that he's at the University of Alabama because this just in, Lane likes to tweet.
That's hot.
Okay, so let's go ahead and go what the H right now, and it's brought to you by our good friend Don Self.
What the? What was he thinking?
Release the hounds.
The Dave Hooker Show,
Keep cool.
a presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
Don Self is your State Farm agent. I'll tell you more right there in Chattanooga. He can take care of you, donself.net, donself.net. All right, Caleb. So I've been told 2 things, and I'll tell you what I'm told by those in the know. And I've been told 2 things. One is that somehow Louisville got together some more money, and they were able to talk Tyler Barron and Tamari McDonald into flipping after they just recently committed as transfers to Ole Miss. I had someone else that told me that no, the funds may not be there. And someone else tell me that he ran them off because the Alabama guys. Either way, isn't that a terrible, terrible look in recruiting?
There is no...
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
There's no way Lane Kiffin comes out of this looking good. There's no scenario you can play in your head in which Lane Kiffin comes out looking good. Because you're right. Either he opened an NIL checkbook to get Tyler Barron and Tamari McDonald. And by the way, a third transfer to Ole Miss has flipped to Louisville. Just recently happened. His name was Tavion Nicholson. He was an Illinois transferred to Ole Miss in December, and now he's flipped to Louisville too. So that leads me to believe this. I will say this. Part of this is the most obvious answer to me is I actually think the most likely one is Louisville's. For some reason, I don't know why they're opening up checkbooks and they're going after Ole Miss guys because they know the Ole Miss guys aren't that loyal because they know those Ole Miss guys left for NIL funds. The only way Lane maybe comes out of this looking good is that maybe they did promise Tamari McDonald and Tavion Nicholson and Tyler Barron some money. Those guys went there, and then when he realized the Alabama thing opened, those guys were trying to negotiate between what Louisville was offering and what Ole Miss was offering, and Lane Kiffin was like, you know what? I'll let them go follow the NIL money to Louisville because that way I can go get the Alabama guys. So maybe he didn't push them off because of that, to be fair to Lane.
Maybe he just lost them. Either way,
maybe he willingly lost them.
Because here's what happens for those that don't know, and the way the transfer portal works, you can enter it, but your scholarship is not held at your previous school. So Tyler Barron, if Lane said, hey, Nick Saban got fired, I'm sorry, we think there are better defensive ends out there. Tyler Barron can't pick up the phone and call Josh Heupel and say, hey, I'd like to come back if you don't care. I mean, that's not the way it works. You don't have to hold their scholarship open. One of our better posters, SC Scout guy, says on South Carolina Sports Radio this morning, they had an Ole Miss guest that flat out said their NIL is completely out of money and overpromised to some kids, and they are scrambling to find money. That's what I was told. But then I was told by somebody else that it could be a situation where he's running off people for Alabama. You want my theory? I think he overpromised based off what I've been told. I'm kind of trusting one source over the other, okay? I think that he overpromised. They realized that the money wouldn't be there because we saw Jaden Rashada at Florida show up and there's no cash, right? So now you've got to be smart enough to get the money before you get enrolled, or technically spend your first night on campus is what the stipulation used to be for enrolled. So I think that he overpromised and didn't have the money. They found that out, and then they fell to a third-tier program, which is Louisville. So Lane Kiffin steps into your living room with your son, who may be a starter at Tennessee or is at least a part of the rotation. And Tennessee could be in the college football playoff and playing for a national championship on the rise. And you tell him, I'm going to give you $1 bazillion. That $1 bazillion is not there. So now he's playing for Louisville and the ACC. And listen, I don't think Tyler Barron is the best apple in the bunch. I don't think he's a bad dude. I just don't think he takes coaching. And I think he thinks he's a little bit better than he is. But the bottom line is Lane Kiffin talked a young man into what essentially is a third-tier program at Louisville. I mean, that's below the second tier of SEC in my mind. Would you agree or disagree that it's Tennessee,
Yes,
Ole Miss, and Louisville if you were to rank those three?
Yes, and for our younger fans out there who think that, no, Louisville's better because they played for the ACC title this year. They lost to Kentucky. Not blowing out Louisville is why Florida State wasn't in the college football playoff, because everybody knew that Louisville was not a good team this year. And by the way, Jeff Brom, great coach. I thought Tennessee would have been best to hire Jeff Brom in 2017 when that whole disaster of a coaching search happened. Brilliant offensive mind. But I do think Lane Kiffin, I think Louisville is clearly a third tier position. I mean, this is a school that wasn't Power 5 10, 15 years ago that we're talking about. And so I think, look, Dave, if he did this, there's no coming back from it, because if he can't win this year with what he's got, who's going to commit? Who's going to take a chance transferring to him?
No, and I think Tennessee saw some of this in the transfer portal. An 8-win season makes it tougher to pick up guys in the portal. But Tennessee, fortunately, they needed to keep their own guys, so it kind of worked itself out. But what happens if Lane Kiffin puts up an 8-win season when he tries to go out and get transfers next year? And that very well could happen. Caleb, tell me that before I tell you, or after I tell you about Don Self. Customer service still matters when you're trying to file that claim. That's when customer service matters, not when you're shopping around for the best price. And I know everybody's doing that in insurance, but if you're in Chattanooga, do me a favor, go to donself.net, donself.net. Know that you're taken care of by an awesome agency with over 40 years of experience. So if Lane Kiffin posts an 8-win season, and I want to go ahead and say, be sure and attach Lane Kiffin when we tweet this video out, because I like Lane on a personal level, and I think I would like for things to work out for him. But I'll be honest with you. If he has an 8-win season this year, then it makes the transfer portal, which Ole Miss has to depend on, but struggles to depend on for lack of money, it makes that more difficult heading into 2025. That could be where it starts to spiral out of control. And then Lane Kiffin, who I think is positioning himself for the Florida job. Then Lane Kiffin, if he things don't go well at Ole Miss, where is he? Where is he at that point? What kind of job is he getting at that point? Are we talking about Central Michigan type jobs? I mean, what type of jobs are we talking about?
Lane is hopping on a faulty rocket ship to the moon. And he's either going to go make it to the moon or he's going to fall flat on his face. He's going to fall to Earth and just explode. Like
he's the SpaceX. The 2 first rockets crashed, and the third one, if it didn't go, they were going to go bankruptcy. Have you heard that Elon story? Okay, so
I did. I saw that.
Is this his third one? Is this his third rocket?
He is shooting. Lane Kiffin is shooting his shot for 2024. And he is willingly lighting his career on fire if it doesn't work out. Because Dave, this is literally, he's at the blackjack table. All his chips are in. Are they not? I mean, all of his chips are in on 2024. I mean, he's either going to go home and have to tell his wife he lost the house gambling, or he's going to walk out a multimillionaire. It's one or the other at this point, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I think it is. I think all the chips are in the table. I think that this Alabama class, and we're going to get to Alabama and all the transfer issues that they're having, I think that's very, very key as well. Mead Drinker asks, is Lane interested in Michigan if Harbaugh leaves? I don't think he's anywhere close to getting considered by Michigan for 2 reasons. One, he hasn't had enough success to take over a program that just won a national championship. And 2, although I think they're a little bit pretentious about it, they might have an issue with the younger girlfriend and some other things that have gone on in his past.
That's why he wouldn't get the Alabama job. I can just tell you that right up front. Alabama would never hire him because of that specific reason. They haven't let you and I know, Dave. Alabama's already gotten burned by a coach who had some women issues pretty badly. Although Ole Miss didn't care after Hugh Freeze, they went for Lane Kiffin, but Lane Kiffin didn't do what Hugh Freeze did. So I'm going to be fair on that. But yeah, Michigan does have a little bit. They kind of like their coach to be a little more. They don't like splashy coaches, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? They don't like big personality coaches. They kind of want the old standard, like Fielding Yost, straight laced type of guy. So I think that, yeah, Lane wouldn't fit in Michigan. Where he'd fit, and I've told you guys this before, Florida or Miami. Either one of those places.
He'd slay it.
He would slay it. Could you imagine Lane at Miami? Lane and Coral Gables? Yeah,
because he would slay it. Because he has connections there because he was at Florida Atlantic. I think he would do really well. Sports Treasures carrying over 5 million sports treasures and so much more. Follow on Facebook for the best sports memorabilia. They have daily updates. If you go to facebook.com and follow them at Sports Treasures TN, please do that. Sports Treasures TN. Why? Because their daily updates, which includes fall memorabilia, is fantastic. Really awesome in North Knoxville. Sports Treasures. So Lane Kiffin ends up at when he retires. And I'm not talking about like I was doing some research on a story, and some of these guys end up at like, I don't know, like I saw Jerry Glanville was a coach at some Southwest Mississippi, Missouri State, just because he likes to coach. I mean, it's not about the money. He's a coach, and that's what he does. He's like 78 years old. But let me just ask you like this. Will Ole Miss be the last, will it be the last good job that he has? Or will he have, if you had to choose between the two, will he eventually have a job better than Ole Miss? Which you and I would agree Florida is better than Ole Miss. Some of the other schools that he reached out to, LSU, better than Ole Miss. Alabama, which he would love, but wasn't going to get, better than Ole Miss. So has Lane Kiffin hit the high water mark as far as a coaching job?
First off, love your Jerry Glanville reference. I actually bring him up in my Nick Saban video. He's the big reason Nick Saban's good at in-game adjustments, because Jerry Glanville did not believe in scripting a game. He just called it as he reacted to it.
He also didn't believe in Kevin Gilbride because he punched the hell out of him. All right, so on the sideline, how awesome was that?
That's pretty awesome.
Are you old enough? Are you too young to remember that?
Yes.
Oh, you got to look that up. He punched him on the side. The defense coordinator punched the offense coordinator on the sidelines. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so
the offense coordinator punched the defense coordinator. Go ahead.
Last week, I would have said no. I would have said that what Ole Miss is doing is going to propel Lane Kiffin into like the Florida job or something like that. This week, I'm saying yes, because here's what I said. What did I say a little while ago? All the chips in the table, one or the other. Well, now the cards are being laid, and he's got a really bad hand with the cards that are being laid right now because of what's happening right now with Ole Miss in the portal. So the risking of lighting his career on fire, what I talk about, I mean, he had already doused himself in the oil, and the match is like right over there. The match is lit. And I mean, it's getting very close because I don't know how you think Dave. I don't think Lane wanted to lose Tyler Barron. Maybe the other two, but Tyler Barron's a good player. And so that's why I don't think he would not have run Tyler Barron off.
Alabama included, I don't think any program in the SEC would run Tyler Barron off. And I say Alabama included, well, maybe Georgia, okay? But I say Alabama included because they're losing so many people right now. But other than Georgia, what SEC program wouldn't take Tyler Barron? I mean, he's been a solid, not great, but solid player.
Exactly. And so that's the telling point to me that this isn't him going for better players from Alabama. I'm on the he overpromised, and now he's losing guys because of it. So because of that, yes, this is his last great job. Yes, this is his last great job. And by the way, I'm not so sure that he won't get fired from Ole Miss, because this is something that unravels the program very quickly if you don't win. And I don't think they're going to win a lot in 2024 now. I don't think they're done losing players that they picked up.
Herald Group Security Solutions, leadership experience, specialization, addressing problems through unique mission-specific mitigation techniques. That means they can make your workspace safer. They can also make your children's school safer. They're working with private schools right now, public schools soon, and we want to avoid the next tragedy. We're talking about highly trained individuals that will protect your workplace or your children's school. That's Herald Group Security Solutions. You can just Google them, Herald, 2 R's, 2 L's, HARRELL, or go to heraldgrp.com, heraldgrp.com. Have you enjoyed it all watching Alabama fans? I don't like seeing people suffer. I don't, for the most part. But have you enjoyed it all watching Alabama fans kind of flop around a little bit in frustration, particularly their boosters who aren't accustomed to having to pay athletes to come to the University of Alabama? What are your thoughts on where Alabama is right now from a booster perspective and having to play the NIL game, which they didn't have to play as strongly with Nick Saban in place?
I enjoy, and I even enjoyed it for Tennessee, and y'all can hate me for saying this, but I enjoy when any fan base thinks that because of who they are, they're entitled to win and they don't have to do anything to make themselves win. And i.e. Jerry Jones. I think that Tennessee was this way for a long time. They felt they were entitled to 10 wins because they did it in the 90s and that they didn't have to do anything to win 10 games. Alabama has felt that way. Alabama's culture has been that way for a long time. It was that way before Nick Saban, and it's this way after Nick Saban. They don't have a top 20 NIL collective, guys. Let me say that again. They're not even in the top 20. Worse, they're not in the top 9 in the SEC. They may not be in the top 10, but there were 9 SEC schools starting next year that have NIL collectives in the top 20. Alabama's not one of them. So at the best, they'll be 10th in the SEC in NIL collective. Nick Saban retired right after the transfer portal closed. I'm sorry. After he insisted that it wasn't a health issue, I firmly believe that, and I question the timing. I'm thoroughly convinced he retired because he's annoyed with the boosters not cobbling up the NIL money that they need to cobble up to get players. I am thoroughly convinced of that now. He basically probably said, I can get it. The Saban discount helps, but it only goes so far. And I think that's why he stepped down. I think Alabama boosters, and again, Tennessee was this way for a long time, but Alabama boosters sit on a high horse and say, don't you guys know? We're Alabama. You should be grateful to commit to us and play for us at Alabama because we are just amazing. Yeah, that's not going to work. What's happened to Notre Dame? There's a reason Notre Dame doesn't have a national title since 1989 because they have operated like that with, actually 1988. They've operated with that culture for 40 years now of we're Notre Dame. You should be thankful to come play for us. That's not how it works in 2024. And Alabama boosters are downright delusional. They may be worse than Jimmy Haslam, who's the worst booster of all time.
Well, and don't forget this too. that these budgets are set going into the year. That's not to say that some huge company in Tuscaloosa or Birmingham couldn't come up with more cash, but a lot of times these marketing budgets are set. And Alabama's, you can look it up if you want to, but their athletic budget is even higher than Tennessee's. And there was a stat that I read last summer that because of Nick Saban, their enrollment was up 30% during his tenure. So he's helped the whole university, and boosters have helped build up the university. But now they're going to be asked to allocate some of those funds to NIL money. I mean, I know this from working in business, running Off the Hook Sports. You know, things don't always happen the second you want them to happen. So, Kalen DeBoer might want an extra $100,000 to spend on a defensive tackle from Arizona, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen tomorrow, especially if it's more like $2 million for the entire class. And some of that money you need to keep guys in place. Because listen, if I'm a borderline guy and I thought Nick Saban was going to turn me into an elite NFL player, sure, I'd take less money. But once he's gone, I mean, there are times you got to think about your family. And we are getting to the point, Caleb, we're talking about life-changing money for more positions than just quarterback. We're talking about some guys are getting so much money that if you invest it right, then you're pretty good for the rest of your life. So I just don't know that Alabama is going to be able to up and do that, and their boosters are going to be able to do it in snap of a finger. Might happen eventually, but I don't think it's going to happen tomorrow.
No, it won't. And let's talk about delusions for a second, because Dave, you covered 2 coaching hires back-to-back at Tennessee. And Mike, I just want to bring this up. I actually give Mike Hamilton credit for the Lane Kiffin hire because he wasn't trying to rest on laurels at Tennessee. He was trying to go for the splash and change the culture at Tennessee immediately. Now he got burned with the bad contracts and it didn't work out. What happens after that? You've told me this. The boosters take over. Doesn't the Derek Dooley hire happen solely because boosters at that time thought this is Tennessee and we can win with any coach no matter what?
Yes.
That's exactly what happened. They thought Derek Dooley would work out because they're Tennessee. So it doesn't matter that Derek Dooley's not that good of a coach. They're Tennessee. They can win anyway.
Now, that being said, I think that Alabama did a great job of handling their coaching search, right?
They did an amazing job.
I mean, they wrapped that thing up in, 72 hours?
Well, Greg Byrne had a lot more leeway than, as you know, Mike Hamilton had in 2010 with Dooley, because Greg Byrne, they like the Nate Oates hire. Whatever you think about what's happened on the basketball program, I believe he hired Nate Oates. They're fans of that. And so he hasn't been, that's where I think, for instance, with Mal Moore, what people don't know is, to Alabama boosters' credit, they borderline took that coaching search away from Mal Moore. They basically told him, don't come home without Nick Saban, didn't they? And Paul Bryant Jr. was like, here's a blank check. Get us Nick Saban. And that's kind of how they got him. But I do think I think delusions of boosters and fans can unravel a program more than anything else, because people and fans think, and it bothers me to no end. I don't like fan bases that do this. And that's why, people are calling me out. It annoyed me when Tennessee fans were doing this. It did. When you think because of what your program is, you're entitled to a certain number of wins every year and you don't have to do anything extra, that's when you fall. The Lady Vols, I'm sorry, their culture right now is causing this. They think they're entitled to national championships. So all they have to do is hire former Lady Vols to continue the Summit way. And it's not working. And I think Alabama boosters are thinking the exact same way right now. They think we're Alabama. We're entitled to titles. We don't have to cobble up NIL money.
Let me ask you this. If you're the SEC, how much do you want Alabama to at least be somewhat similar to what they've been under Saban? How much does that help the SEC? Let's say Kalen DeBoer's there 17 years and he wins 2 or 3 championships, which would be commendable. There would be nothing wrong with that at all. But it's not Saban-like, because the Nate Oates not being suspended makes me think, and I never think this, and I know a lot of conspiracy theorists out there, some probably on our message board do, so maybe I'm naive, but I don't think that for the most part the SEC looks out for one program, but a lot of people think the SEC looks out for Alabama. Not suspending Nate Oates makes me think they look out for Alabama.
Well, no, they look out for teams that could give them. You're talking about this year, yeah. That was embarrassing. They look out for teams that can help them on a national scale and draw ratings. And Alabama in basketball is good right now, and so it does seem like they're looking out for Alabama for that reason. Do you think Greg Sankey made an emotional decision and just feels bad for Alabama fans right now? So he doesn't want to hurt them any harder with the Nate Oates suspension, because there should be a Nate Oates suspension. And by the way, Nick Saban can deny it all day long because he's going to deny it. He was lying when he said he wasn't taking a shot at Nate Oates last year with his "there's no wrong place, wrong time." I don't believe him for 1 second. Do you, Dave? When he said that?
No, I think he was clearly taking a shot at Nate Oates. And remind those for that might not remember, he said that right after the
Brandon Miller incident. Nate Oates came out and said Brandon Miller was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, which I'm not saying you suspend Brandon Miller, but you say something better than that. Okay. Nick Saban came out and suspended a player for spring practice a month later and said there's no such thing as wrong place, wrong time. And then he said later, I wasn't taking a shot at Nate Oates. Yes, you were. Yes, you were. You were sending the Alabama athletic department a message. We can't let this happen. And I think Nick Saban, I will say it's kind of interesting you brought it up, and this is another topic for another day, but I think it's going to be a lot easier to get the SEC schedule to 9 games now without Nick Saban as a coach trying to force it. But so, yeah, I think that's going to be easier. But as far as Alabama boosters go, I mean, I talk different from boosters and fans. Okay, college football, Dave, you know this. It's a sport of the boost. There's 2 types of college basketball is a sport for the fans. College basketball, you make the hire for the people that are in the student section cheering and going loud, right? College football decisions are made they're made on the golf course, aren't they? They're made based on the boosters and the coaches on the golf course. And the golf course, I'm sorry, the students in the student section are brighter than the people on the golf course. They're smarter than the people on the golf course, always. And I think Tennessee's boosters weren't that bright back in the day, and Alabama's boosters ain't that bright now. I'm telling you guys this, they want the coach they can golf with and talk about how great Alabama is and how lucky he is to be there and how lucky players would be to go play at Alabama. But they don't want to cobble up any NIL money to do it because they don't think they have to. And it's going to burn them.
All right, it's time for our 5 favorite minutes. Opportunity to talk about what you want to talk about. We love doing that because you've been fantastic in supporting our sponsors. They're right down below, and please do so. All of our sponsors, I will repeat this, are advertisers or our businesses that we would use if we needed their business or have used in the past. So we like to bring you our recommendation, not just because we work together with them. So we want to give you an opportunity during every program to steer the narrative a little bit. What would you like to talk about? And a great topic right off the top is nope, that was the wrong one. Sorry. Derek says Caleb wears diapers. Shut up, buddy. Good topic, Derek. Good job.
Derek knew the Life album from Yo Gotti earlier, so I still give him a break. Not as many people know that album. So whatever. I have forgot. For those who think I'm too young, I know more about the football guy. I know more about y'all's era of watching football than y'all know because I'm a history expert. Okay. I know what Dave was thinking about football in 1991 more than Dave knows what Dave was thinking about.
Derek was joking. You get so defensive. Look at him. He's saying right there. I'm joking, guys. I love y'all. So
I still throw shots. What was it Kenya said from Real Housewives of Atlanta? Don't come for me unless I send for you.
That's interesting. All right. I like how modest Caleb is. So we'll discuss Caleb's modesty here for a second. Yeah, there we go.
I'm very modest.
Let me get this. Derek says, dude, you didn't know who Grant Windstrom was. All right. We're not going to get into a battle of who knows more.
Well played, Derek.
I would probably bet on Caleb.
But Derek, I know who Harvey. Do you know about the Harvey Robinson era at Tennessee?
Yes. Who doesn't? I've got the Harvey Robinson book. It's actually an encyclopedia that somebody came and sold to me back in the 50s when I was 10 years old. I just bought it. Okay, let's go this direction based off of our message board. What's realistic for Alabama over the next 10 years? A championship, multiple championships, no championships. What will they do over the next 10 years? Not even realistic. What will they do with Calhoun and DeBoer there?
And this has nothing to do with following Nick Saban, because I don't believe that has anything to do with it. But in general, still zero, because they don't have the NIL collective that they need. And Alabama is not, here's a big thing, and I want to point this out. Pure infrastructure of a program, Alabama is not a tier 1 job. It's a tier 1B job, because it's not as easy of a job as Georgia, LSU, or Ohio State. And that's a big deal.
Jason says no championship. Rob says none. SC Scout guy says, I think they'll win 1 championship and 2 SEC titles. I'm going to give you a very specific reason why I'm going 0. It's because I think Georgia and Alabama have flip-flopped. I think that Georgia had a guy in Mark Richt, offensive mind, above average offensive coach, correct? But not elite, right? Above average.
I might say elite. I thought he was a great offensive mind.
Okay.
Honestly.
Okay. Well, great. Okay. We'll go great. Alabama at the same time had who? A guy named Nick Saban, which is unquestionably an elite defensive coach, right?
Right.
They flip-flop. Alabama now has a good, maybe great offensive coach, and Georgia has an elite defensive coach. So I don't think they overcome Georgia anytime soon, much less the fact that Texas and Oklahoma are coming in, and I think Texas has something cooking. I'm not sure about Oklahoma yet. I don't think he wins a championship. I think it ends in 5 years in disappointment with him getting fired.
I agree.
I also think, and sorry to interrupt. I think he's a better program builder than championship winner. And I think a lot of things broke his way. I don't think there was a great team in college football this past year that allowed them to have the success they had at Washington. And I think he's a program builder. I don't think he's a champion.
So he's Johnny Majors, literally Johnny Majors, who was a program builder. I'm with you on that. Now, I think he won't win it, but I don't think any coach would win it at Alabama now. I don't think there's a coach outside of an established home run hire who would win it because of their infrastructure of the program that I talked about. Meanwhile, Georgia.
Well, if they hired Urban Meyer.
That's why I said who's outside of an established home run hire.
Okay. Gotcha.
Urban Meyer, Jim Harbaugh, and Nick Saban would win national championships at Alabama right now. And maybe Kirby Smart. And that's what I wanted to bring up real quick. Not only is Georgia about to have they flipped, I think Georgia could be on the precipice if they can get their discipline under control. They could be on a precipice of a dynasty greater than what Nick Saban ran. Because without Alabama, you guys do realize Georgia would have had 3 straight undefeated seasons if Alabama if they didn't play Alabama 2 of the last 3 years. They'd have 3 straight undefeated seasons. Alabama's the only thing that stood in their way. They're not standing in their way now with Nick Saban gone. And Georgia, not only does Alabama not have the talent to beat Georgia, Georgia's getting the talent from Alabama that would have had the talent to beat them. So Georgia's actually doubling up on talent. I'm sorry, guys. I think Caleb Downs is a lock for Georgia. You guys can call me crazy on that, but I think Kirby Smart, Dave, doesn't.
For those that don't know who Caleb Downs is,
Alabama safety under the transfer portal, elite player.
All right.
I think Kirby Smart, because there was no greater Saban protege in terms of coaching defensive backs than Kirby Smart. Is that fair to say, Dave? If you want your kid to go into the NFL as a defensive player, you play for Kirby Smart, right?
No doubt.
And Kirby Smart, not on offense, but on defense, there's a Smart discount coming. There's a Kirby Smart discount, I think, that exists now to go play at Georgia for NIL, to sacrifice in it. And what I mean by that is I think defensive players are sacrificing NIL money to go play for Kirby Smart. And I think that's only going to continue. I am one who called the Mike Bobo hire stupid. I think he's a terrible offensive coordinator. I don't think it matters. I think Georgia's entering an era like Alabama in 2011 when they had Jim McElwain and could still win national championships.
Their offense was awful and way too conservative after halftime in a lot of situations. I thought that was Nick Saban's Achilles heel, that would slip up and beat him early in his career because I thought he would sit on leads too much. Now, obviously, he evolved and they were just that good where they held on to games. I always think of the 2009 Tennessee game as an example of that, where I thought he kind of sat on it a little bit.
Yeah, but also Mark Ingram fumbled when he never fumbles. That was the most fluke fumble of all time.
Well, but in general, I just thought that Nick Saban would sit on leads early in his career, and he got away from that. Great show today. Ron Slay, by the way, was on a flight, so he texted me, so we didn't get Ron. But do me a favor and go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. And before you're out of here, I want to ask you to do this. Turn your notifications on so you get the latest from Off the Hook Sports. And be sure and follow on Twitter because you can watch it there as well at OTH Sports Media or at The Dave Hooker or at Caleb Calhoun. Follow all of that. And if you would like, if you have someone that's a Tennessee fan that might have a birthday coming up, Celebrate 98 book is available right down below. So check that out as well. For Caleb Calhoun, I'm Dave Hooker. This has been a presentation. When I love the one thing, I wish we had time to get into that. Would Mark Stoops have been a better hire than Caleb DeBoer? We'll discuss that tomorrow. He's Caleb Calhoun. I'm Dave Hooker. This has been a